ultimately it is what it is. And our circumstances often are things that we can't change. But it's how we react to those circumstances that affect our lives going forward.
Welcome to the Marvelous Moms Club podcast. Discover yourself, break out of mediocrity, and become the mom you've always aspired to be. Here's your host, Kirsten Tyrell.
Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode. This is going to be such a good one. I love talking to brand new people. I love hearing their stories, but what I love maybe even the most is talking to people that I've already known for a long time, because it gives me an excuse to reconnect with them and to become like acquainted and connect and talk and hear all their things that they've been up to since we talked last. And today is one of those calls. I'm talking to my wonderful, amazing friend, Aubrey. And just to paint a picture for you guys, Aubrey is the girl in high school that I was like, whoever marries her is going to be the luckiest guy ever. She is all the things. She's so talented. She's so smart. She has such a good head on her shoulders. I'm not kidding when I say, like, if I could have married Aubrey, I would have married Aubrey. She's just that amazing. So that is who you guys get to hear from today. Not to like set the bar high for you or anything, Aubrey, but I think you're totally going to match all my expectations because that's just who you are. So welcome to my podcast. I'm so proud of you for being here. And I know you're a little bit nervous, but it's going to be so great.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. No, I'm really happy. I'm happy to be here.
Good. Well, I'm glad that you are. So I was at your wedding and you have since had 3 amazing, beautiful children, but let's talk about, that's the story, right? Like, that's the story in and of itself. You have 2, just give everybody a background on how old your oldest 2 are, and then we can just kind of dive in the story of Evie.
Sure. So we currently live in Houston, Texas. We have 2 children and that are living. My oldest will be 11 on Sunday, and my son will be just turned 8. And
so crazy.
Then we have a little angel baby. She was born around 21 months ago, I guess now. So she would be almost 2, but she was stillborn. So she never made it full. I was almost full term, but there was no heartbeat and I had to go in and have her taken out.
So there's a big age gap there too. You've been kind of in like the infertility struggle for a few years.
Yeah, for
right?
a long time. So yeah, it was very interesting. I've been very driven my whole life. Like I wanted to succeed. I even wanted a job, and I always kind of wanted to be a mom, but I didn't have those natural feelings towards children when I was a teenager. Like I didn't love to babysit. Maybe it was because I was the oldest and had that opportunity to babysit all I wanted, but
yes, I think that's where I was too. I was like, I hope I want to have children. Like I totally did, but I didn't. I felt nothing about like, oh, kids are so great. It's like kids are kind of awful.
Yeah. So, and I didn't like any of the homemaker stuff either. Like I didn't like to cook. Yeah. Like when we got married, my dad, he is so nice, but he said this to my husband. He's like, I sure hope you like microwave dinners. And I'm like, on my wedding day. And I'm like, Dad, shut the front door. Not allowed to tell him that kind of stuff. But like, really, I didn't like to cook. I didn't like to bake. I didn't like to clean. I mean, all of it was not, like, homemaker was not me.
Right.
Didn't like it. So when I got married, I was planning on waiting for a while to have kids. I wanted to finish school. I wanted to, work for a little while, but like a month in, both me and my husband, we were sitting in a car together, and I remember just having this like really powerful experience together. It was like all of a sudden we both felt like this wave of, we need to start having children. And I was like, what?
This isn't my plan.
This isn't my plan. This is not what we agreed on. And, but I was like, I will trust you. I'm speaking to God at this point. I will trust you. I will do what you say because I know that you know better. Right. So, I've always had pretty strong faith, but, so we started trying and we're not having success. And then we were very confused because we were like, God, why did you tell us these things? Like, we're supposed to start trying if we're not having a baby. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
What's going on?
Yeah. And then I just really wanted and craved that baby. And I was starting to face the idea that maybe I wouldn't have a baby, you know, and that kind of thing is really hard for a woman of any age to realize, okay, maybe we're not going to have any children. Anyway, I was very lucky. My story is not compared to women that have a lot of problems. But so we felt very, very blessed when we had Aria, my oldest, and she was just a miracle, really. And same with Jeff. And we have been unprotected our whole marriage, and these are the babies that we have. So, and we have, in between Jeff and Evie, we did some fertility treatments, and one of those resulted in a ectopic pregnancy, which in its own way was very devastating. And then, so we were, actually with Evie, we were taking a break. It was like Christmas time, and I was like, I am not going to the doctor every other day during Christmas. I can't do it right now. It's emotionally draining. It's very, oh gosh, overwhelming. And everybody's all up in your business all the time. And all the doctors and stuff. And it's just
all up in your lady business.
Lady business, yeah. which is fine, but it's definitely not my favorite thing. And it was Christmas time and just busy. And I was like, we'll take a break. Maybe we'll reassess in the new year, decide if we want to get really aggressive. Yeah. Because we both felt like there's another one, right? There's another one that we need to have. We just have to have her. So we were taking a break, and about halfway through December, I start vomiting. And we realized that I'm pregnant. It was just kind of like a miracle. Like with the ectopic, I lost a tube. So, the chances of me getting pregnant are even less than they were before, which was even less than, it was less than normal people before that. So,
and then you cut your odds in half. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. And sometimes, it's not consistent. It doesn't like switch off at ovaries every other month. Sometimes it'll do like the one ovary 4 times in a row. It kind of just depends on which ovary is interested, I guess. I don't know. In participating.
Which has the best candidate. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow,
maybe this
our
is
bodies
too
are
much
so
information.
Complex. I didn't even
but
know.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that. That's really interesting. So really what you're saying is like, if it had been the other one and maybe it was a less active contributor, like even lower chances, right? Like
even
at least
lower
you
chances.
saved the good one. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I don't know. She was definitely like a miracle. Like we were just overwhelmed, consumed, like just so grateful that we got pregnant with her.
Yeah.
And I was so sick with her the whole time. Like I was sick with my other 2, but it kind of stopped at 12 weeks. But her, it was like, oh, I was on the couch most of the day, the whole time. Like it was bad. And anyway, we were on a vacation. I'm assuming you want me to jump to the birth.
Yeah.
We were on vacation. It was like my last kind of trip before the summer hit, because summers in Houston are pretty horrendous. And so we were driving to kind of get our little vacation for the summer from the kids before we were back to the heat for the whole summer, because I was due in August. And so this is the beginning of June. I was 31 weeks when we left, pregnant. And so we went on a little road vacation, and we get to visit my family in St. George, Utah. And we arrive, and everything's great. I know Sunday we felt movement. My mom actually felt her kick on Sunday, so we both remember that she was present then. And then on Tuesday, Monday, I started feeling like maybe something was wrong. You don't know for sure because you kind of still feel movements, and you just don't really think that it's possible. Like, you don't believe that some things like this happen anymore. This is not part of modern technology life. People don't lose babies.
Yeah.
Just because it wasn't on my radar. I didn't have close friends that had problems, or, I mean, I have close friends that have had miscarriages, but not usually. I mean, I remember thinking with her at 26 weeks, like, okay, we're viable now.
Right. We're pretty much good to go.
We're good to go, right? We're viable. I mean,
Yeah.
because I have lost, the ectopic pregnancy. And so, I was a little more wary with and anxious with Eve in the first place, just because of the previous miscarriage. And I think most moms can relate to that have had miscarriage. You just feel a little more anxious going forward if anything is happening. Anyway.
Right.
So I remember thinking, okay, 26 weeks, we're viable. We can make it, right? So we go to the hospital, and I just remember sitting there with my husband, which was a blessing because we were at my parents' and they could take my kids, and it was just me and my husband. And they pull up. It's not my doctor. It's not my normal hospital. We're in the ER, and they pull up the ultrasound, and they're like, "There's no heartbeat." And it was just so overwhelming at the time that it just felt, it felt really unfair.
Yeah.
That I had wanted this baby for so long and was unable. And my husband has a good job. We have a beautiful house, an empty bedroom. Like, she would be getting her own room. I mean, it was just like all these things, like, why is it that someone like me can't have this baby? And there's millions of other children that don't have, excess, I guess.
Right.
And why would God drag me through this if this was not? Anyway, it just felt really unfair.
I can't even imagine.
That we still don't know what was wrong with her. I did not know this, but a third of all stillborns, they have no idea what went wrong.
Wow. I didn't know that either. Yeah.
So I'm hoping to change that in the future, but I'm hoping that someone figures that out, because that's a lot of babies that we don't know how they died.
Right.
And
which leads to so many other probably like obstacles for you as a mom, because you literally don't know. And I'm sure you immediately go to this place of like, was it me? Could I have done something differently? I know you've probably battled all of those feelings. And even if you had a cause, you'd probably still do that. But that probably makes it even harder to just have no earthly idea if like why.
Right. And when she came out, she looked perfect. Like, everything was normal. The doctor even said she had urine in her bladder, so her kidneys were working. So it was just like, I have this perfect body, and there's no more spirit in it. Even, and I knew that I had the doctors said that we'd caught it pretty early on. Apparently, if they stay in the womb longer, they kind of deteriorate more and they get more deformed the longer they're in there.
Yeah.
But her skin still had some yellow in it. So it was it was pretty recent. And so recent. I deal with those kind of things like, okay, if I had just gone to the doctor on Saturday, she could be here, maybe we'd have discovered that her heart rate was, lower than it was supposed to be. And we could have done something like that kind of torture that we kind of put ourselves through, that you really can't even go there, because ultimately it is what it is. And our circumstances often are things that we can't change. But it's how we react to those circumstances that affect our lives going forward.
Right. And so I remember I discovered that this had happened to you far too late. I felt so bad because social media has dumb algorithms, and I just wasn't seeing the things that I should have been seeing from the people I care about. And so finding out so much longer later, I really wasn't even there or part of the process to see you grieving. And you're still grieving. I think you'll grieve forever, right? But the initial shock, but you've, even just since I've been aware that this happened to you, because this has probably been a year since I found out, you've come so far. And I love following the Instagram account that you created in her name, because it's So I can tell it's very therapeutic for her. So I just want to share it with others because I know that there's definitely like moms and women listening who have probably gone through a loss similar. You know, my sister-in-law had a stillborn baby at like 6 months, so probably around the same time frame that you did. And I know she's had to go through her own wilderness, you know, like her own her own process of how she's been able to feel human again. And I've loved seeing that yours comes from such a place of like service. And so what do you feel like was the first step in being able to step outside of that mindset, which maybe sometimes you drift back into, of like, what could I have done differently? That agony that you feel in the initial phases of the grief to where you've kind of evolved to now. Like, what advice would you be offer other moms who are maybe someday going to experience this? They're listening and they don't even know that this is ahead, or they're in the middle of it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to point out that you doing something 9 months later is a big deal to me, because at that point, everybody else in my circle had pretty much moved on, as they would normally. Yeah. But it's still at 9 months especially, it was a very everyday thing for me. And so one thing I did learn from this experience is that it's never too late to do something.
That's awesome.
Because no matter what, they're still struggling with it, even if you think they've moved on. I just don't think it's ever.
There's really no, and there's no timeline for that. It's not like, well, it's now been a year. They've gone through every season, every holiday. They're probably doing better now.
Yeah.
It could totally just sometimes even get worse as more time goes. So yeah, that's a good reminder. If you're listening and you have a friend or a family member, I actually think I've had somebody on here talking about grief before and they've had loss, and they're like, just be the one to follow up with them after like a year when it seems like, you know, you don't want to be annoying and bring it up again. I think that's a thing, is people fear that they don't want to bring up like feelings that they assume that you have like started to suppress, when really it's like, no, I'm still dealing with it like it happened yesterday. So talk to me as though you acknowledge that that's my reality, right?
Oh, yes. So just acknowledge that, okay. And even if at that time they don't want to talk about it, at least they knew that you remembered. To be remembered, I think, is so, what's the word? Just very connecting. Comforting. Like, it helps us connect in a way that is, like, just to remember something about somebody else really helps us connect.
Yeah, and connection is kind of the core, like, it's like the survival principle, right? I think I learned that this weekend, that like loneliness can kill you faster than cigarettes because it's so much more debilitating, and it's something that we don't acknowledge enough. And like, I'm sure there's so much connection that you've needed, and I think that's why you've turned around and turned it into a service thing too. That's why a lot of people who experience loss try and find a way to get outside of themselves to connect with other people.
I mean, I read all the grief books. I went to a counselor. Like, I did everything. I wanted to be better. Yeah. And everything I looked at was basically, you need to find something that you believe in, that you can invest your time into, that would be different. I mean, that would honor their memory, or would honor your time in some way that's better. And so at first, when I created it, I think it was mostly just a therapeutic blog, Instagram account. I wrote what I was feeling. I wrote what people did for me. And it gave me perspective on the fact that this kind of stuff would have been helpful for me when I was struggling with infertility, or things like that. That people sometimes, like, I would have loved if someone had brought me flowers on a hard day, you know?
Yeah.
And or even just called up and said hi on a hard day. It doesn't take much. It doesn't involve a lot of effort other than time usually, to make someone feel important. And I got a lot of that right after her death, and it was very helpful to feel loved like that. And made me, anyway, I had empty arms and I needed to fill them. And
I love
so
that.
we decided to, I mean, you know me, I have lots of energy. I have lots of, I feel pretty confident in who I am, and I have lots of talents, and I have lots to give. And I had 2 children and one that was missing, and I felt like I needed to love more. than just the two that I had. And I needed a way to love my angel that was in heaven and honor her in some way.
Yeah.
For me personally, it's actually kind of selfish, the reason I'm doing it. So,
but that's the great thing about service. Like, everybody wins, right? Like, you grow, you
amen.
have, and this is why, okay, so let's go on a tangent here. People who are unwilling to receive the service, like, how easy could it have been to be like, I'm fine, I'm Aubrey, like, I have my life together, it's fine, I don't need your pity, I don't need your service, like, but because you were open to them serving, like, literally everybody grows and wins in that situation because they feel better at having offered you service. Just like now you feel better. It helps you feel more connected. It helps you feel more, it expands your ability to love, and you're blessing somebody else. So I don't think you should like feel bad for even a millisecond about like, it's selfish. I'm actually doing this to cure my broken heart. Like, it's actually a really great reason to be out serving because you're ministering to others and you're like being, you're being God's hands. And what better way to feel closer to your baby in heaven than to be doing work that, brings us closer to heaven.
Absolutely. And I feel like because of the things that people have done for me and that I told them that I was grateful for it. And then I returned service on a day when I felt like was good. I feel like we have this learning to recognize the value in each other is so important because it helps us connect and realize that we're not alone and that loneliness can kill. And if we're not alone, then it'll be better. It just is better. That's why we have families. I mean, that's why the ideal is families and the ideal is community and unity. So that we can develop these relationships.
I love that you said too, to me, that not all trials are on the surface because it's so easy to serve somebody who does have a very obvious trial, like losing a child. But I'm sure you've had experiences where you've felt called to serve people and their trial is not like apparent. And I feel like it's kind of overwhelming thought to think like you never know what people are going through. And if you're in a position where you're willing to serve and you're willing to listen to that, intuition, that inspiration, whatever you want to call it, like it's so powerful because a lot of us, it's so easy to say, oh, their life is so good. Like, I'm the only one who struggles this way. I'm the only one with depression. I'm the only one with insecurity, doubt, fear, whatever. And like, I think when you get yourself into a position of serving all the time, it creates the ability to bless those people's lives whose trials are a little bit deeper.
Right. And just be thinking, I mean, I am so grateful, 2 years later that she died because it changed who I am as a person and the things that happen to us can change us into something better or something worse. And it's kind of up to us as to how we react and how we choose to see the new thing that we've been thrust into.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we can become better and improve.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
So how has it been like, right. How has it been with your other two, with Aria and Jeff? Like, have you seen the way that you've chosen to kind of face this loss and face your own emotions has helped to strengthen them and helped them to kind of function through it in a different way than if you had chosen to just be like, woe is me, my life is hard, and this is my struggle that I'll focus on for the next 50 years, and this is just, I'm punished and my life is awful. Like, what has the shift been in your whole family? Because moms are the heartbeat of the home, right? Like, however Aubrey chooses to face this is going to be how the whole family chooses to face this.
Well, it's very strange experience because every person, every child has their own reaction to hard things, just like the mom does and the dad does. And I'm not quiet about the way Nate and I grieve differently, but that he also grieved in his own way. And sometimes he was very sad and I was like, what's wrong with you? And sometimes I was very sad and he was like, it's fine. Like it just, sometimes we just don't grieve on the same schedule, I guess. Like the waves don't come at the same time. And the same with our children. So my son didn't want to hold her when she was born, didn't want to I mean, he was okay to talk about her and touch her. But I kind of feel like he has more of a connection with her. I'm not sure that it's palpable or explainable. I think that's what's hard about it. But he doesn't like to talk about it, maybe because it's more manly. I never tell him that feelings aren't okay to talk about. So he knows we talk about feelings, but
it could
it's just
be
kind
so
of
personal
innate in him.
and special.
Yeah. That he just wants to keep it to himself. So it kind of makes me think that maybe he has this connection with her. And my daughter is very open about it and wants to include her in prayers and things like that. And I think she's responding to it more like I do. I don't know. It's tricky. I mean, definitely those first few months are like, they're lucky if they ate.
Yeah.
And
survival
you know
mode.
what, but to be honest, like my normal day right now, my kids get up for school, they set their own alarm. I mean, they should not be able to do this, but they do. They get ready for the day, and I go to help them cross the street. Like, that's all I do in the mornings is I go help them cross the street. And I think partly because I was so unfunctioning for a few months that they learned. I mean, I was unfunctioning actually for a major part of my pregnancy too. So this is not
this
new.
is like a good year of their life. Yeah, they really
a good year of their lives where they
independent.
learn to. Yeah, but I also think that they know. I mean, they know that I love them, and they know that I need their love.
Yeah.
Like, so for example, my son, first day of kindergarten, he's very independent, always has been. Like, I mean, he makes his own dinner he can. He's just very independent. And first day of kindergarten, I take him to the crossing guard, and they let us, take him for the first day. They let us take him into their classrooms. All the other days, they have to walk in by themselves. Which, for him, first day of kindergarten, he was my only child at the time. I mean, that was my last child at home. So it was like, well, what else am I going to do besides walking into your classroom? I don't have any other children. So at home with me anyway. But he did not even want to hug me. Like, I'm too cool for this. Like, tense up shoulders. I'm giving him a hug, and he's like, Mom.
There's people.
Yeah, one of those people. Like, oh, there's people, Mom. Don't hug me right now. But since she's died, since we lost Evie, he has been much more open about giving me hugs and realizing that I need him and that I love him personally. And I just love that he can, he can feel that I need that from him. I didn't ask for it, I mean, I always give him hugs, but I didn't ask him I don't tell him that he can't tense up when I give him hugs.
Right. It's just happened like beneath the surface. It's a result of like circumstances. Yeah.
He's, my kids are they're very spiritual beings, and
I love that. And that's like a huge blessing that's come from something very, very difficult. And that I can understand why you say like you're grateful for the experience, because we can't control the circumstances, but it's like you said in the very beginning, we can control how we react to them and how we choose to live our lives given what we've been given. And that's why I wanted you on here, because it's once again, like, don't worry guys, Aubrey will rise above, and she's still gonna have hard days, but if anybody was going to handle loss of a child, this girl's going to be the shining example of how to do it, because that's just who you are. And I know, I'm not saying you're perfect, like, but it really is so incredible. And I think that's why I wanted you to share your story on here. And I wanted you to share that, like, that ability to build that connection and to serve and to still be a light to your children and to still be a light to others, in spite of going through the most deep, dark, awful thing that any mother can experience. So,
well, and I love what you've done here on this podcast. It's helped me a little bit to kind of like, okay, I'm not the only one struggling with this thing called motherhood.
Yeah.
And
crazy, huh?
Yeah. But I mean, after I lost her, I was like reading every blog post I could ever find about someone that had had a stillborn. Like I was reading it all, because I wanted to cry, and I wanted to know that someone else was feeling what I was feeling.
Right.
And to know that someone had experienced it. And I know that people know about it, but I wanted to read about it.
Yeah.
And so, and I liked reading about it because it was on, or listening to it. I mean, I think you've had a couple on that have had either child loss or stillborn. Anyway, it made me feel, I don't remember where I was going. Don't laugh.
You'll get back to it.
So that's why I started writing what I was feeling in a public way, because if someone like me finds it and can read about it and it can uplift them, then even that is enough to just know that we're not alone.
Yeah. So what is the Instagram handle if anybody listening wants to go follow it, wants to share it with somebody that they know might be experiencing something similar? We'll put it in the show notes, but if you want to just say it for anybody listening.
Sure. It's Evie Laree. That's Evielaree.
Awesome.
Laree was her nickname. Evie's her nickname, and then Laree is her middle name. It's named after
so beautiful.
grandma, who is also in heaven with her. So
that's so beautiful.
We think that that's a blessing.
Yeah, absolutely. Just take care of her till you get up there to take care of her. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Well, I picture her as an adult. She does not need taken care of. So
yeah. Well, that's good. I love that. Yeah. And she's probably doing a lot for you here too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
she's here all the time.
My son, we just had a very spiritual experience last Saturday, and she was here. Like, that's
so awesome.
I knew she was here. So
I love it.
I think mothers feel that way about their children that have gone.
Yeah. You just know.
I mean, you just know.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you for sharing all this. I know it's sometimes can be hard to get vulnerable and go into stories that, are sometimes hard to talk about, but you've shared it so eloquently, as I knew that you would. So to finish out, my favorite question that I ask all my moms is, what makes you a marvelous mom?
Oh. I knew this was coming, and I was
You only get to pick one, Aubrey. I know you want to list out like 20. Just pick one.
I know I'm amazing. Stop. I would say that I am a marvelous mom because I'm not afraid to say that I'm learning as I go.
I love that.
And that my kids know that I love them.
Perfect answer.
All of them. I think all of my kids know that I love them. So.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
And you can always share this episode with them. If they ever, when they become like teenagers and they doubt you, be like, you know what? I actually recorded a whole podcast interview about how much I love you.
Jeff would be so embarrassed that I even talked about him.
Just start playing it in the car and be like, actually, thousands of women have heard this, honey. It's no big deal. It won't freak him out at all.
Oh, not at all.
Well, thanks, Aubrey. I love you so much. You're so phenomenal. And I'm really grateful to you for coming on here and sharing. I absolutely 100% know that somebody needed to hear it in this way. So I really appreciate it.
Well, I'm just happy to be here, and thanks for being you and inspiring women to do new things and hard things. I think it's great.
Absolutely. I'll keep doing it until the day I die. I'll be 90 still recording these podcast episodes.
Who knows what the medium will be in 90 years, right?
I'm sure we'll be mind reading by then. I'll just be transmitting
mind reading.
Messages.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, it'd be so simple. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Share this with other moms if you feel like they have needed this message, and we will see you on the next episode. Have a marvelous day.